Sorry, technical difficulties. Second video. As of the moment, I have not found the queen. So I need to be very careful to make sure that I don't injure her any more than she already is. I know she's injured, which means she cannot fly away. I want to be careful and make sure that I don't hurt her any more than what's already happened. So slowly pulling this apart. I want to make sure that the frames don't fall apart. These frames actually look like they have been built up really, really well. I'm actually excited about that because the last couple of times that I've gone in here, as soon as I started pulling on the frames, I've had pieces fall apart, I had pieces fall down, and I'm pretty sure that's actually how my queen got injured originally. And this frame is really heavy. Oh, super heavy, especially for one hand. But you can see there's a lot of brood, and you would think it looks spotty, but it's not. That's where bees have already hatched, and they've either been backfilled with honey or nectar, or they've been refilled with eggs. And I can't see in well enough to tell if there's eggs, but I do see some fresh larvae. So that means the queen is still active. She's still around. She's laying as much eggs as she can. But the worker bees who are bringing back nectar are bringing it back faster than she's laying, and they're backfilling because they haven't built up into the top brood box. So I'm hoping that if they realize that they're running out of space, they'll start building up. That's my hope, but I guess we'll find out soon. So I spun the frame around just so you can get more of a view of it. There's definitely some more capped over brood, some more open holes that have been backfilled, but there's also some holes that have fresh larvae in them. So, oh, and look at that. Look at that. There's fresh eggs. And like I said, those eggs standing up, they haven't laid down yet. That means that they're within the last 2 days. So my queen is definitely running around here. I hope, if you guys see her before I do, I hope that maybe somebody can point her out. She is marked. She has, the last I saw her, she had 2 little red dots on her thorax, which would be the spot right in between her wings. And I'll show you a close-up of one of the worker bees. That thorax is the space right in between her wings. She's gonna be a lot bigger though than one of these worker bees, and I haven't seen any drones, which means they may have kicked the drones out. The drones will have a rounder bottom, basically, than any of these worker bees, and they'll almost look like a fat worker bee, but they won't be anywhere near the length of the queen. All right, this next frame is going to be one of the more difficult ones to get apart. As you can see, they didn't build straight vertically up and down. They were building kind of across, and what they did is they connected it in between the 2 frame parts, and that makes it difficult for me to do my inspection. You can see the liquid, that's the nectar getting ready to be turned into honey, and that just makes this part of my inspection super difficult, because now I have to be careful that I don't drop anything, and hopefully if something does drop, the queen is not on it. Just keep and pray. Oh, we damaged a larva. Unfortunately, that's gonna happen when I'm pulling this stuff apart, but maybe they can save it as long as it doesn't fall on the ground. It looks like they're trying to. Nope, they dropped it. They let it go. So they'll get rid of any dead bees in the hive. And you can see that we're actually dripping a lot of honey on the floor. They'll eat that all up. I've had the whole floor covered within the last couple of inspections because of the way they're building this comb, and it's so crazy. But the fresh larva says that the queen has definitely been around, and I got a piece that's fallen apart. I got another larva falling out. There's a couple more that have fallen on the ground that they'll just get rid of because they can't save them this way. Unfortunately, the larva is not able to be salvaged. So we lost a couple. Not really a huge deal with the amount of brood that we have seen. It is unfortunate. I hate doing it, but there's really no way to get around it. Now I feel like I'm going to need both hands to get this frame out without damaging anything, so we'll be back shortly. Okay, I did need both hands to get it out. Now you can actually see, now that I've got it held up. Oh, look, there's a drone. See how he's got the fat bottom? That is not a queen, that is the drone. Now you can see there's a lot of brood in this comb. Some of it's hatched, a lot of it's not. Some of it's getting ready to. You can see the open hole there. That's a brood a baby bee getting ready to come out. The last time I was doing an inspection, I actually got to see a baby bee that had not fully come out of the honeycomb yet, which was really cool for me to get a picture of. You can also see there's very little space. So the bees don't need a whole lot of space to get in between these honeycombs. That's good for them. They can build that close together. It's not so good for me because I can't see in between. I can't see if the queen is in here or not. So that's gonna make this project a little bit more difficult. So this is the other side of that frame. You can see, if I hold it sideways, this is how far out they're building, which is why it makes it so difficult for me to be doing my inspections. Because right here is where both frames would meet, and that's into the other half of the frame and almost onto a third one. That makes this so difficult. But if you see, when we look down in the chamber here, there's a huge gap on that frame, and that's because I had to separate it just enough to make sure that this would not get damaged. Now what I might end up doing is I might take some of the bases apart of that top brood box, and I might take some of these frames with the brood on it, or the comb with the brood on it, and transfer it upstairs to encourage the girls to move upstairs and to try to keep expanding this colony. They've been building pretty crazily. They've repaired every damaged section that I have created by doing my inspections, which for me is a good thing, because that means that they're still being able to create wax, they're still collecting nectar, they're collecting and laying all the stuff that they need to make sure that their colony survives, which that's awesome. You can see there's some uncapped brood there now. Now I don't know if it was uncapped when I started, but there's this one right here, which I think that bee's right there. That one was not capped over yet, so they might be able to build the wax up around it and actually cap it over it and save that baby bee. I'm not really sure, but the time will tell. And if you look in this section over here too, we've got some more eggs. So even if those few larvae that fell down on the floor, which you can see down there, they're covered by the bees, even if those larvae don't make it, we still have enough baby bees that are being made or laid that will be able to make sure that the ones we've lost are replaced. Okay, I had to put the phone down and stop my recording so that I could get this frame out. I had a little section that was connected right up top here that actually did break, and I'll give you a better close-up of it. In this frame, we've got some nectar on this side. We've got larvae up in here in this section. We've got some more larvae up in this section. We've got some eggs here. We've got brood down here. We've got eggs and larvae all over this frame. But we've got this huge gap, and this huge gap is because of that last frame that had that section that was protruding out into it. Now, I kind of had resituated this to help manage that section, because these two pieces here and here I had to replace and put on the frame this way so that they wouldn't get damaged. Now, I still have not found the queen, and that's not disturbing, but that does make this interesting. I got to be very careful every frame that I go through that I don't hurt the queen. As I promised, I said I'd give you a little close-up of this piece of comb. Unfortunately, I don't see anything in it. So this is fresh wax. The queen hadn't gotten here yet, so she didn't lay anything. The bees haven't stored any nectar into it. So I'm gonna, maybe I'll move it, maybe I won't. For now, I'm just gonna set it aside, keep it away from everything. That way it's not in the way. And we're gonna try to get into the next frame. Hopefully we don't break anything. As you can see, it's split apart fairly easy. This is fairly new wax, which makes the inspection, or at least getting the frames apart, easier. It doesn't really make the inspection itself any easier, because I'm still using one hand trying to do all this, so I gotta be careful. I don't want to drop anything or hurt anybody. All right, on this frame, we've got nectar, we've got some brood underneath those bees there. Give them a little bit of blowing air. We've got some more larvae, a lot more larvae in there. We've got some more brood. Here's some more brood, and a little bit of capped over honey. And we've got more eggs, and these eggs are almost laying down, which means they're between 3 and 5 days old, which I don't expect to see the queen on this frame either. But you never know. I mean, she might be traveling back and forth across the frames, trying to make sure that she's got babies populating everywhere. A good queen can lay up to 1,500 eggs a day. Now we're looking at the other side to see if we see her. I'm still not seeing her, but I do see signs of activity. We've got eggs that are standing up, a couple of them. We got some larvae. So we know that the queen is definitely laying, and she's laying strong. I'm very pleased with that, especially because how I've already said in the other half of the video that she was injured. With her being injured, that means she's not going to be able to fly away. So that's a bonus for me. But I wasn't sure if they were going to try to replace her because she was injured. But now that I know that she's still laying eggs, and she's laying them at a good rate, that means that the bees will not replace her because she is producing enough to repopulate the colony. Alright, that frame came apart fairly easy. Let's see what we got going on here. Alright, now we got some more wonky comb going on in here. You can see there's a gap there. Maybe you can't. Let's see if we can hold it up so we got a little bit more. There we go, there's the gap there. Another gap means that makes it difficult for me to be able to spot any queen who might be running in between the gaps. But that's okay. Even if I don't find her, I know that she's still here. She's still alive. She's still active. She's actively laying. We've got fresh eggs. We've got fresh larvae. We've got healthy brood pattern. I'm very pleased with the queen's activity. Now, I'm looking in this fresh comb over here, and I don't see anything. It's completely empty. And that's fine. They haven't filled any. We've got some capped over honey right here on the edge. I'm trying to be careful and hold the phone and the frame and not drop it, because that would be bad. Alright, yeah, so you can look on this edge. We actually have some very nicely fresh capped over honey. And that's good. That's very good. Still not seeing any fresh eggs, but I want to make sure I look through the whole thing and just be careful. We got some brood, more wonky. Their comb has been so wonky this year, but it's because these frames have been baseless. They've just been building however they can, which, I mean, that's fine. I don't really mind so much, except that it bothers me when I end up having to tear the colony apart because their frames are their honeycomb is connected to multiple frames. Alright, we'll put this one back in here, and we're going to check out the last frame, which they kind of connected to the wall. Alright, let's see. Wow, this is heavy. Okay, this frame is full of nectar and honey. You can see it's capped over. Realistically, if I wanted to, I could probably pull this frame and collect the honey that's on it. But because I want to make sure that they survive through winter, I'm not touching any of the honey that's in these bottom two frames. And it really, so the last time I looked at this was fully capped over. So that means they're actually running out of resources and they're eating this right now. So what I might end up doing is I might end up somewhere over on the property, close by, but not too close, set up a feeding trough with sugar water and some protein in it so that they can actually start gathering some more nectar. Because we've had so much rain lately, they just haven't had the availability to be able to go out and gather. But even though we've had so much rain, and even though they haven't been able to get out and do as much gathering as they normally would, they've still been gathering enough resources to be able to allow the queen to produce brood, to produce the babies, which means that she's keeping the colony alive, and helping to maintain the population. Now, when this colony started, I only had 10,000 bees. Right now, roughly, I'd say I've probably got about 20,000, give or take. I mean, I'm not doing an exact guess count. I'm not going to try to count them. That's just, for me, it's just physically impossible. I'm not going to do it. But I can make a good estimated guess and say I've probably got close to 20,000 bees, at least right now. And there might even be more, I'm not sure. All right, hey, here's something cool that you can see. This bee actually has pollen on it, which means it just came back from an excursion. So, because because it's dry out today and it's not raining, the bees are actually able to go out and they're actually able to forage, and that's another good thing. Something that I should probably do is a mite test, just to make sure that there's no varroa mites in my colony. But I'm not going to do that today. Like I said, because we've had so much foul weather, I don't know if that's going to affect the mites or not, or if it'll affect the bees or not. But either way, I really don't want to go through that process, at least not right now. I might, in my next inspection, we'll see, depending on how well the weather goes. Something else you may have noticed is that throughout both of the videos that I've taken with this inspection, I have not used any smoke. I prefer not to use smoke, and unless I absolutely have to, I choose not to. For me, it's a personal preference for me. I don't like using it. I also decided, now that I'm putting this colony back together, that I am not, I'll say it again, I'm not going to move any of the brood up to the top chamber. I'm just going to let them continue building the way they are. It'll be less detrimental to the colony. It'll help them know that they need to expand more instead of me forcing them to expand. So when they're ready, they'll expand. I'm not going to worry about it too much. I know that the queen is alive. I know that she is laying eggs. I know the colony is healthy. You can see that they're healthy. Get rid of some of that nonsense. And they still have a couple of frames down in this bottom section that are not really fully filled out. So I may have been a little early when I put the top box on, but that's okay. I'm still gonna put this empty frame over here. Oops, I forgot about that piece of honeycomb. Oh well, we'll just let them get at it, reuse it. Put this one in here. Alrighty, well, now it's time for me to rebuild, and you guys don't really need to watch the whole rebuild process, but I do appreciate the time that you spent watching my video. And as always, thanks for watching and have a great day.